Which countries are the best when it comes to crypto economies? I found this is very fascinating to see the top 10 countries in terms of crypto economies around the world. And this is directly related to Q3 or quarter three of the calendar year. So we're looking at July, August, and September. And funny enough, Germany actually is number one. And many of you may have thought that the US is, but that's not the case. And we're going to go through why. Okay, so let's go through actually what this, this, I won't call it a study, but a survey or what have you is all about. Okay. So this was actually this rankings was compiled by CoinCub. Okay, and it looked into various things such as, what the crypto outlook was for that particular country or is for that particular country, any favorable crypto tax rules and, some clear guidelines around regulations and communications within that particular country. And so here they say that, hey, look, Germany, it's not a tax haven, but it's one of the strongest all-around traditional tax crypto economies that reward long-term crypto holders. German law charges zero tax on crypto holdings of over a year. That's very important, especially in the US when there isn't any clear regulation around, yield and gains. Capital gains in terms of when you sell something for profit. Yeah, definitely more clarity around there. But if you hold something for a considerable length of time, are you still taxed the same? How does that work? What's the tax rate if you are? Like a lot of these things aren't clear, and a lot of the rules and regulations and policies around these are so outdated. They don't even know how to handle these digital assets. So, U.S. has a long way to go, and being from Canada, Canada has a long way to go as well. Okay, so definitely great to hear some crypto conversations and some innovation happening, but that regulation is lagging so far behind. And as long as that happens, where there's no clarity, there's always going to be that volatility because people just aren't sure, right? But I want to go through some of these because some of them are surprising, maybe surprising to you as well. I mean, Germany being number one, I'd heard that the tax laws there are much more favorable, but for it to be number one in terms of an outlook and a ranking, okay, that's good to know. I did not know that. I definitely knew it was top five, but number one, impressive. Number two, Switzerland. Now we all may think, hey, look, Switzerland is a neutral country, so more than likely it's probably favorable. But we got major banking happening in Switzerland, and the last people on this planet who look at digital currencies in any favorable light are banks. So Switzerland being number two, pretty impressive there. Okay, now I know personally of certain entities that actually handle tokens that startup companies will look to generate, and these tokens are actually handled by companies in Switzerland, some pretty big ones. So that's always a good sign in terms of regulation and what's allowed there, if they're the ones that are part of that process. So number two is Switzerland. Number three here is Australia. Now that might be surprising. Australia is like, it's often its own little place. It's not a very large market. But the amount of innovation that's happening in Australia is astounding. They have their crypto conferences. They're a very tight-knit community, but really dedicated and really focused on building in the space. So I am not surprised that they're number three. They're providing a lot of value and responsible for a lot of movement in the crypto space. So keep your eye on Australia. Number four, UAE. I mean, are we that surprised? A lot of money flowing in and around that area. They're usually pretty innovative, so I'm not surprised what they're doing. They're very crypto friendly in everything that they've been doing in terms of not so much taxes, but what they allow and how they support the space in growth. And obviously a lot of that has to do with the money that's thrown to support that growth. So I'm not surprised there. Number five, Singapore. Singapore is a beast when it comes to Asia. They are all across the board. They are involved in the crypto space, especially when you look at gaming and metaverse. They are really heavy in there. And Animoca Brands, one of the largest entities in all of crypto space, does a lot of things in Asia and has a great representation in Asia as well. So you can imagine that they wouldn't be there if there wasn't an appetite. It's pretty good for them. Malaysia, kind of along the same lines, doing some great stuff there. Number 7 here is the United States. I mean, look, if I'm sure if I asked any single person here where they think the United States would have been in a top 10 ranking, probably looking at top 5, right? Even though there's all these regulation issues, you think about all the companies, all the brilliant minds, the tech, how tech savvy and tech supportive the United States is, you would think they would be top 5. But they're not. They actually put it in 7. And mainly that is just all about the regulation. If they clear up the regulation, and this article goes on to say, what could happen if they did, they would definitely rocket to top 2 positions for sure. If not just straight to 1. Okay. That's really the only thing that's holding back the United States is the actual clarity around regulations. So number 8, Hong Kong. I mean, Hong Kong, lots of capital there, very innovative, tech savvy. So they're getting their groove on when it comes to crypto as well. I know some entities based out of there and just crushing it, absolutely crushing it. Number 9 is Bahamas. So initially I was like, Bahamas? Where does Bahamas come from? And then you're like, okay, they're a pretty good tax haven, right? From what I know, they don't charge any crypto tax. So I think Sam Bankman-Friedman also lives in the Bahamas for that very reason. If you don't know who he is, very young, well-known, and very rich CEO of FTX. That's where he resides, and for good reason. So definitely will be in the top 10 there. And number 10 is Taiwan. So again, a lot of things are happening in that space and in that part of the world where we don't hear much of it here in North America, but man, there is so much development that we're all going to be shocked when it comes to the forefront. So keep a lookout for those guys as well. One here that isn't on here, they go on to say here that, the number of Bitcoin related searches, obviously El Salvador is one, they hold quite a bit of Bitcoin, but Nigeria and Central African Republic, they're big. Africa is really coming into its own when it comes to crypto adoption, for good reason, based on all the turmoil that happens there around currencies, and government and all that kind of stuff. So definitely keep an eye out for Africa. They will be big in terms of adoption. And they also go on to mention the Vietnamese, that they were actually the biggest hoarders of crypto with over 20 million or nearly 20% of the population invest in crypto. And so in comparison, the US has over 46 million crypto holders, but that's only 13% of the population. And let me tell you this. So being an early stage investor, there are so many projects with founders based in Vietnam, born and raised in Vietnam. It's a hotbed when it comes to development and this new wave of technology and adoption and just know-how and savvy. Okay, so and one in particular, that the London Real Investment Club that I'm a part of, we have actually invested in a particular project that is very hot, and the entire founding team is straight out of Vietnam. So not surprised there at all. That's another place keep your eye on. So I just wanted to share this with you. It's fascinating, the top 10, and maybe you didn't think some of the players that you thought would be in it are not in it, right? So it would be interesting. Leave a comment below of who you thought may have been in the top 10 that you were surprised did not show up there. See you guys in the next video.